Beyond the chat, we're not just talk. Beyond the chat, we're not just talk. Beyond the chat, we're not just talk. Beyond the chat, we keep it plain, we keep it real, we really get down to it. You know the drill, from the bottom to the top. Stay tuned, make sure you stay locked. We go beyond the chat. We're not just talk, we go beyond the chat. We're not just talk, we go. Oh, yeah. Woo! Okay, first of all, Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
We are super excited to be entering 2021 on a great platform. Welcome to Beyond the Chat. I am your host, your girlfriend, your neighbor, your best friend, Natasha Cash.
And I'm your host, T-Dub, in the building.
And I am your host, Jayla Nate, in the house.
Okay. Well, as you know, we have someone special joining us on tonight. This is Jayla Nate, as she mentioned. We're going to be talking some serious talk tonight. So we invited Jayla to be a part because we want to talk about domestic violence and we also want to talk about bullying.
Oh, yeah.
Those are two very important topics that I think everyone needs to have a conversation about. Everyone needs to discuss. And it doesn't need to be swept under the carpet. It doesn't need to be brushed to the side as if it's not important. Because believe it or not, it's not just young people or teenagers that are being bullied. People are being bullied every single day in the workplace, at home, by their neighbors, by their family members, by people in a restaurant, in a store. I mean, it's just happening and it's out of control. And so we want to use our platform to talk about it. And we also want to talk about domestic violence. If you've been following the show, if you follow me as an artist, Natasha Cash, NatashaCash.com, FloridaEventSource.com. If you follow our business, you'll know that we are advocates for domestic violence and those victims of domestic violence, And, we want to make sure that we let people know how important it is to speak up, to speak out, to be honest, to tell the truth, so that you can help not only yourselves, you can help someone else.
Right.
And so it's extremely important that we talk about it because, what's interesting is that it's not just women. And, a lot of people think that it's just, women are victims of domestic violence. But no, it's definitely men and children as well that experience domestic violence. So if you or someone you know, someone you love, someone you're close to has been a victim or has experienced domestic violence, or if you yourself need someone to talk to, please call the number that's on the screen, 1-800-799-SAFE or 1-800-799-7233. That is the domestic violence hotline. And so we want to make sure that people are aware of what's going on around us. It's crazy just reading a few of the stories. We'll get into it shortly, but just reading some of the stories, it's not something that's happening once in a while. People have been in relationships for 10, 15, 20 years and they're experiencing these
every day,
these situations every single day. So it's important that we speak on it and we want to hear from you. So if you're joining us from Periscope, YouTube, Facebook, beyondthechat.com, Twitch, wherever you are, shout us out. Let us know you're out there. Let us know you're paying attention, that you're listening. And we want to hear from you. If you have something to say, you want to comment, you can call the number. It's 833-282-2428. 833-282-2428. You can dial us and we can talk to you on that line. But if you want to chime in on the chat, we want to hear from you there as well. So let's jump into it. We're getting ready to talk about our thought of the week. So we're going to let Jayla talk about our thought of the week. You want to read that for us?
Okay, our thought of the week is: no one heals himself by wounding another. You never look good trying to make someone else look bad.
Whoa, that's deep. You never look good trying to make someone else look bad. What does that mean to you? Can you tell us more about, how do you feel about that?
Basically saying that you bringing someone else down doesn't make people like you. It doesn't make you a likable person.
Right. That's very true. It doesn't make you better than anybody else. It doesn't make you stand out. It actually makes you look worse. I mean, I've always felt that, and TW, you can chime in on this. I've always felt that when someone tries to bully or make fun of another person, I always feel like it's because they want to take the attention off of themselves.
Well, they want to do that, and they also want to feel bigger or stronger than that other person.
Right.
And from some research that I've done, some studies show that a lot of it comes from that person being bullied or taken advantage of growing up as well. So what they do is they turn around and do the same thing to others so that they'll feel empowered because they felt unempowered for so long.
That's so true. And a lot of children and teenagers that grow up, like you said, in these environments, in these homes, in these relationships where they learn these behaviors, they're never taught that it's not okay, because if they're experiencing it, they feel like, okay, well then, hey, maybe it's okay to treat someone that way.
You know what? And a lot of it is your upbringing, and we talk about it all the time. It's just like racism.
Right.
You're not born racist.
Right, exactly. Exactly. You are taught those things. Those things are a part of your atmosphere, a part of your communication. Just like calling someone the N-word, people don't know what that means until you're taught how it affects other people and what it does to the emotions, to the mind of other people. And then that's how people use it to their advantage to bring someone else down. Right. I was watching a story on YouTube yesterday, and a bus driver, a white woman bus driver, was driving children home from school, and she pulled her bus over because from the time she left the school grounds, all she heard was these white children calling black children the N-word and saying, oh, don't sit by him, he's black. Don't sit by her, she has nappy hair. Don't, and so the bus driver was trying to drive and focus on what they were saying to tell them that's not nice. Well, I love the fact that she pulled her bus over to talk to them about bullying and about racism.
Right.
And she made it her business not to drive those kids any further until she was very clear on where she stood on racism and bullying. How would you feel, Jayla, if you were on a school bus riding home from school and you heard some other children, using inappropriate language or bullying another student, and your bus driver pulled the bus over? How would you feel about that? How would that make you feel?
I would feel like that was probably a smart decision, because they probably would have kept thinking that it was okay if she didn't say something about it, and it would have probably continued for weeks, maybe months, and
until something really bad happened. So if you were in a situation where you felt like either you were being bullied or your friend was being bullied, what steps would you take? Share with some of the younger teenagers and young people out there what steps you would take to either help a friend or deal with it, if you were the person that was being bullied.
Well, I would stand up for myself, because people need to know that it's not okay to do things like that.
It's not.
Like in any way, shape, or form, no matter the situation, because it may not be things that happen to us, but because of the past and some of the things that are still happening in the present. It's just not.
It's just not okay.
Yeah.
So do you feel like you have, because a lot of children don't feel like they have the, they don't feel comfortable talking to their teacher or their guidance counselor.
They don't feel like they have the resources.
Right. Exactly. And that's really sad, because we send our children to school and they're in school, or virtual school or whatever you want to call it right now with the pandemic going on. But we send our children to brick and mortars or to virtual school for 8-9 hours a day. So they're with their teachers and their coaches and their guidance counselors and their principals, more time than they are with their parents. And so you would think that children would feel more comfortable talking to their teacher because the teacher is setting the atmosphere. But unfortunately, that's not happening.
Right. It's not happening. And you still have situations where students are targeted even by the teachers being bullied, telling them, threatening them, but they allow the other kids to do certain things, but they'll pick out your one child that's doing everything right in every other class.
Right.
But this one class, why is it in this one class?
Right.
My child just is not performing.
And that is so true. I can tell a personal story. My son was a straight A student, and in high school, I think it was 11th grade, 10th or 11th grade, I can't remember, but 11th grade. He was in high school in 11th grade, and he had all A's except for one class. He had an F. And I could not understand for the life of me why he had an F. And I think the class was like English class. I'm like, okay, you speak English, so it's not a foreign language. What's going on? And so I wanted to have a meeting with the guidance counselor, with the principal and all his teachers. So we set up a meeting. We get there, and the principal, at first, she was on the teacher's side, which I think, that's, take up for your staff and have their back. I get it. But the more and more we conversed about the situation, it just all began to come to light. And what was so interesting to me is that his other teachers that he had the A's and, had A's in their class, they were there saying how wonderful he is and how smart he is and how articulate he is. And they really like him. Yet this one teacher he just kept saying, well, he just doesn't do his work. And I don't have time to play games with kids. You just could hear the hate in his voice. And then when the principal I said, well, pull all of his grades. And so the principal pulled his grades for the entire school year and showed that he had all A's in every single class except this one teacher's class. So then we began to break it down to, okay, so why does he have an F? Is he not turning in his work? Is he skipping class? Is he, does he not understand the work? Well, my son then pulls out all of his projects and his homework assignments for that class, and they were listed 89%, 94%, 92%. So why does my son have an A? Because he was prejudiced.
Right.
So had I not, as a parent, took the initiative to figure out what was going on, he would have failed my son. And because English is a mandatory class to get your credits to graduate, my son could have been taking his class again the next year.
If you didn't step in and say, hey,
exactly,
it's not right.
So it's extremely important that we as parents, we as aunts, uncles, grandparents, whatever your title is to your young person, it is extremely important that you stand up for them and let them know that you care and you have their back, and you will not stand for them to be criticized or treated inappropriately, that they will not be bullied by a teacher or another student, and you will not tolerate racism in their life. It's just not okay.
Exactly. Just like the penal system. How they keep these kids in jail to keep them working for free.
Mm-hmm.
And, why do they keep them in there? Because they don't have anybody outside fighting for them.
Exactly. And that's, I'm glad you said that. That is so true. I can't remember who, I think it was Crown, the rapper that your brother,
right.
He rapped on Stand Up with me. And he said, sis, think about it. They give these black children, these black men more larger sentence. They make them serve more time. Why is that? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out.
For possession versus battery or something.
Right.
And it's like, you get 10 years for possession?
Exactly.
But this guy beat the crap out of somebody and got 8 months?
Well, what's her name? McLaughlin, the lady that just went.
The scandal.
She went to prison for what, 2 weeks or something like that, and now she's out on the street again. But if that had been a black woman, would she still be serving? Would she be out on the street or allowed to serve probation for what she has done? And so it's just a matter of recognizing the situation, and we all have to stand together to do something about it.
We do.
Using our platforms, speaking up, letting our voices be heard, and telling people, I see you, I hear you, I know what you're doing, and it's not okay.
Yes.
I think when you start holding people accountable for their actions and their deeds, that's when they begin to, rethink their actions. Because a lot of times people just let stuff slide and ride up under the carpet, under the surface, and don't say anything about it.
Right.
And that's a problem.
Right. And there's a hierarchy that you can follow to reach the top. I mean, you have councilmen.
Right.
I mean,
the state servicemen.
I mean, you can go as high as you want,
right,
if you have the time and the drive to do it.
Exactly.
And if you have the passion to do it because it's something that you really believe in,
right,
you don't have to wait on somebody else to push a button or fill your gas tank up to do it. There's people that's in place in public service,
right,
that's basically there to do just that. Fight with you, fight for you.
Right. And we vote these people into office for this reason, not to just sit down, but to make it their business to speak out on our behalf.
Yeah.
That's why we vote them into office, because, united we stand.
Right. And it's not just local government.
Right.
I mean, you go from,
state government,
city council, to governor.
Right.
Senate. I mean, you can go as high as you want.
Right.
And these people are supposed to listen.
Absolutely.
And if they're not going to listen, then you take it to the news.
Absolutely.
And I bet they listen then.
They sure will. How many times have we watched Bay News 9 and Better Call Banking?
Goodness.
And she is knocking them out. She is on it. So we appreciate her for handling business. And it's so sad that you have to go to the news channel and you have to be broadcasted on social media and live television for people to do what they know is the right thing to do.
Because these companies are bullying people that spent their money already.
Right. Exactly. And it's just sad. But hey, if it works, then use your resources.
They're out there.
Exactly. So Jayla, let's talk about a little bit about domestic violence. So I want you to read a little bit about the domestic violence there.
According to the CDC, 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men will experience physical violence by their intimate partner at some point during their lifetimes. About 1 in 3 women and nearly 1 in 6 experience some of sexual violence during their lifetimes.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy, because that's another form of bullying, is sexual harassment.
Absolutely.
And you get it in many places. You don't only get it at the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
You can get it at home.
Yes.
You get it at school, work. I mean, everywhere.
What bothers me is that it is happening, I mean, by the second.
Oh, yeah.
It's happening by the second. And people don't realize that everything that you experience creates the person you are.
Yeah. You either build from it or you fall from it.
Absolutely. And a lot of people are not as mentally strong as other people. And when you go through something and you experience something hurtful or traumatic or, devastating in your life, not everybody is strong enough to handle that. And it creates the person that you are. And I was watching, I want to say it was Steve Harvey. I was watching Steve Harvey and he was talking to some parents in the audience and he was telling the fathers, he was telling them, you set the atmosphere for your home. And if there's not a male figure in the home, then women have to step up and be both. And sometimes that's easy. Sometimes it's hard. Just depends on what they have going on. Imagine being a mother who has 3 and 4 children and you don't have a father figure in the home. Now you have to be the disciplinarian. You have to cook. You have to go to work. You have to provide. You have to help them with their homework. You have to get their hair done. You have to bathe them. It's just a lot. And so, it takes a very strong person to be able to hold down the fort and maybe deal with domestic violence or some form of bullying with your child.
Right.
It's a lot to take on. And so we applaud. Let me applaud. We applaud every single one of you parents, whether you're a mother or father or grandparent out there that has been instrumental in your child or your grandchildren's lives. You have been a strong force. You have been the disciplinarian. You have been the provider. You have been the backbone. You have been everything to them. And so we want to specifically applaud you for being so awesome in your child, grandchild, niece, nephew's lives, and let you know that you are amazing. You are a hero to us on Beyond the Chat. Mm-hmm. And we love you for being who you are. We want you to continue to do such a great work, because what you do, you never know who else it will affect, because that child or grandchild that you are sending out into the world to be amazing is attaching himself or herself to some other young person that is out there. And they're instilling in them those same values that they're learning at home, helping that other young person to become a great person in society. So we want to thank you for being who you are. And you know who you are. If you're doing what you're doing, you know who you are. Keep doing your thing. Go ahead.
So I just want to touch on, harassment in the workplace.
That's huge.
Because there's different things that you can do to combat that.
Right.
The first thing is knowing your rights. Because that's really important. Most companies have a handbook. Right. Let you know what you can and can't do. Of course, every single thing in the world isn't in there, but there's things that's like blatantly clear that you should not do in the workplace.
Absolutely.
So have you ever experienced anything in the workplace that seemed to be like harassing or bullying?
Actually, I have. And unfortunately, I had to be the one to step in to help a fellow coworker. And I guess I can tell the story. So we had a situation at work where a physician, where we work, we have observers come to observe our physicians to get credit for school. And we have a very small office. It's only about 8 ladies. And at this particular day, there was only one young lady in the office. And my other coworker was running late because she had car trouble. And I was heading into the office. And I walk into the office, and it was my coworker and a physician. And it was extremely tense. When I tell you, you could cut the tension with a knife, you could seriously cut it with a knife. So I sat down and I started to assess the situation, figure out what was going on. Make a long story short, the physician was upset because the paperwork that was needed to get the observers a badge was not in our office. And so he began to bang on the counter. He began to scream inappropriate language, inappropriate insults, and it just became out of control. And I watched my coworker literally shaking. Her knees were knocking. You could see her bottom lip trembling. She was that afraid of this provider. And I've never been raised to be afraid of anyone. And so it did not scare me. It infuriated me to know that he was in a position of authority, and he used that to bully and demean a young lady. And I lost it. I began raising my voice. I told him that it is not okay and unacceptable for him to speak to her that way, to treat anyone that way. And he literally had 2 seconds to leave the office, else it was going to get ugly. And I think he was shocked that I reacted to him that way, because he literally like had one of those, like, these kind of looks like, whoa, where is that coming from? But he left our office. That was 4 years ago, and he has not been back in our office since.
There you go. There you go. So he knew he was wrong.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I literally sat there for about 2 minutes, allowing him to say whatever he was saying, do whatever he was doing, because I couldn't believe he was doing it.
And that's the thing you do. That's the right thing to do, is sit there and let someone do whatever they're going to do. And then your next step is document everything.
Right.
Document everything while it's still fresh in your mind. Don't wait 48 hours,
right,
3-4 days and try to remember. Document it when it happens. That way you do not have to try to remember what happened.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And after that, after it's documented, then you report it.
Right.
Your supervisor, HR. I mean, like I said, in the handbook, there's all the steps.
All the steps.
And if you're in a company, the mom and pop shop that really don't have a handbook,
right,
then you talk to the person that owns the business. But, you have to talk to someone.
So I agree. At that point, so we have measures in place where you can, we have a silent alarm and all that stuff. But I was the silent alarm. I was about to lose it. I'm like, if you raise your voice one more time, you're going to wear this computer around your throat, and you will be talking in type text for the rest of your life, sipping through a straw, drinking Kool-Aid and, I don't know, syrup sandwiches or something, mashed bread.
And you'll feel good after everything's over.
Exactly. It's just, I don't know. I can't explain it. I can only tell you that I've been raised by some extremely strong Black women.
Yeah.
And that's all I know, is to speak up, to, stand up for yourself. You see something, something's not right. You say that it's just not right. And, I just feel like that's important. I believe that that's one of the things that my coworkers love about me, is that they never have to worry about me ever having their back and standing up for what's right. I've had, a few doctors that thought that it was okay to say and do and act any kind of way because they have MD behind their title. And I'm sorry, MD just don't work for me.
Humans are humans.
Humans are humans. And yeah, MD can get yourself hurt too. So just one more thing. If it is in a mom and pop shop, it's not a big corporation that has a supervisor, manager, HR, then talk to an employment attorney. Yes. Yes, because they will put cease and desist.
Right.
They will speak to them directly. They will, speak
Even
to them.
file a formal lawsuit.
File a formal lawsuit. Absolutely. And, I love the era that we're in now because of a lot of things that we've experienced in the last 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of things put in place where there's no tolerance. There's a lot of people and I don't like the fact that we've had to endure what we've had to endure over the last few years, but I do appreciate the fact that as a result, we have come to a place where, racism is not being tolerated in the workplace. Bullying is not being tolerated in the workplace. Sexual harassment is not being tolerated. It's been in the handbook, but it's been looked over.
Oh yeah.
It's been brushed to the side.
Or not looked at at all.
Or not looked at all.
Because people, they sign a handbook and know that they're not going to be tested on it. So they just sign it and keep it moving.
Exactly. So Jayla, tell us how you feel about that. How do you feel about, I know that you're young and you don't yet work, but what if you were experiencing a situation where someone was being, verbally abusive or mentally abusive or physically abusive with you, maybe in the workplace or at home or at school? How do you feel about that? What do you think of that?
Well, I wouldn't stand for it. I won't allow it to happen. And for racism, like all over my Instagram or like on a lot of social medias, there's a bunch of petitions to sign things for things to be recognized, because there's a lot of things that are going on that people just overlook, and they're like, maybe if we can hide it far enough, people won't notice it.
Mm-hmm.
And someone's gonna notice, and when they do, they make giant petitions, and there's like thousands of people signing for this man to get out of jail because of something. Like, there was this guy, I don't remember his name, but he was accused of, I think he was accused of murder. The guy who actually murdered the person came clean and said that he was the murderer.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy who was accused is still in jail.
Wow.
And
there's so many cases like that. There's even movies out like that, but they still won't go back and look at these cases and make it right.
Yeah, because like you said earlier, they'd rather keep us in there
working
to control, working for free.
Right, because it's easy, because no one's out there fighting for them. So it's like,
exactly.
And free labor.
That's the sad part.
It is.
So Jayla, what do you say to a young girl or a young man who is experiencing maybe some inappropriate behavior at home, maybe with their siblings, or maybe an aunt or an uncle lives with them, or even with their parents? What do you say to them? How do you motivate and encourage them to speak up and say something?
That you should never be afraid to stand up for yourself, no matter who it is, no matter how close they are, no matter how friendly they seem or how intimidating they look. You should never be afraid to stand up for yourself and like your rights, just because they look scary or they might hurt you. You can get help to the point where you can file a restraining order, and they can't even come near you, so you don't have to deal with that anymore.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So what type of, what type of system is in place in your school system that allow a child to report bullying?
We have our school counseling, and sometimes if you don't, you can tell a friend, and your friend is confident enough to go tell the school counseling, and then they handle it from there, because not all people feel comfortable telling a teacher about what's going on in their personal life, but they'll tell a friend, and that friend will indirectly tell them about what's going on so that it can be solved if they're not comfortable with telling someone in authority.
Okay, that's good. And they do this anonymously?
Yes.
Cool.
Good. That's awesome. Going back to our thought of the week, how we talked about no one heals himself by wounding another. Believe it or not, it may feel good in the moment when you have a crowd of people standing around and you're making jokes about somebody, or you're talking bad about somebody, or you're bullying somebody. But that does not and never will heal any of your own hurt.
No.
Once you come off of that high of talking about somebody or treating someone bad, your problems are still going to be there.
Yeah. And you're still going to continue to do it to other people.
Exactly.
Why?
Exactly. And it's so important to know your value. I appreciate Jayla being on the podcast with us today, because I love her confidence and I love how she's speaking up. She must have gotten that from her mother.
Perhaps.
But I love her confidence, and I want to say to young girls, even young men out there, speak up for yourself. Be strong, be courageous, be confident, know your value, know your worth. Don't let anyone tell you you're not amazing, you're not worth the fighting for, you're not loved. You are loved. There's always someone out there who cares. Never think that the way out is to either end your life or to end someone else's life. Always know that there is a hotline, there is a group, there is a program, a meeting, a counselor, someone in authority that can help you and that is willing to speak to you about whatever you find yourself in. And there are counselors, that are out there that will keep your story safe, keep it confidential, will never share anything that you're not willing to share with anyone else. So again, if you feel like you've experienced domestic violence or any type of hurt, or you feel like you are going to become domestically violent,
right?
Call and get some help. Talk to someone. It was a funny story, but it wasn't a funny story. Remember, we read about the couple, the husband who got into an argument with his wife, and it was in another country, and he walked.
Oh yeah,
what was it? 5 hours.
He walked about 30 hours.
30 hours. Oh my gosh. So I had it all wrong. He walked 30 hours to get away from his wife because he was angry with her. And the only way that they found out, because it had been about 2 or 3 days and he hadn't come home, and his wife called the police to report him missing. And they went searching for him and found him, 2 states over, however many states away from where he lived. He had walked that far to get away from her because they had gotten into an argument and he was that upset.
Yeah, I think he walked like 300 miles or something like that.
300 miles.
It was crazy.
They found him because the country is in lockdown and no one is supposed to be outside after 9 o'clock or something like that. Well, he was outside after 9 o'clock because he was walking. And so they pulled him over and stopped him and asked him, why was he outside? And he said, well, him and his wife got into an argument and he just walking to kind of cool off. He says, well, they asked him, well, where do you live? And he named like 2 states away, and they were like, wait, what? You walked all the way from one state to this state? He's like, yeah, I needed to cool off. So listen, if you need to cool off, if you're mad, if you're pissed off, if you're angry, go for a walk.
Do it. Do something. Figure out what you can do to cool off.
Exactly. Yes. Just go for a walk and cool off. Don't let anybody cause you to put yourself in a situation you'll regret later.
Right. And one thing, you never know who has your back in public. You never know, because we've seen so many disturbing videos where even a coach and parents make sure that you jump on these coaches about bullying your child and pushing your child around and hitting your child, because that is not right. I don't care how experienced the coach is. You should not be hitting a child.
Absolutely. I don't know if you can go on YouTube and search for it, but there was a coach and that was out on the field with the football player. And mind you, he had already been in trouble for the same situation, short time previous to this one. But this time it was caught on camera. And he literally hit this kid so hard, he knocked him down to the ground.
The second time.
Now, I'm sorry. I'm a parent, and I don't care if he was my child or not my child. Had I been in the stands, the game would have been over, or we would have had more than one halftime, because I would have been the halftime show. I do not stand for anyone hurting someone that is not able to fend for themselves. And I don't care what that child has done. If you lost all the games because of this player, it's not worth him being abused the way that he abused him. First of all, that's not your son. Second of all, there's nothing in the permission slip to play football that says I give you permission to put your hands on my son or to hit my child so that he is knocked out on the ground.
Right. And let me recant that statement about saying child. You should not be hitting anyone that you feel like you have the authority over. If you're a coach, if you're coaching semi-pro, college, you should not be putting your hands on anyone in a physical manner that hurts them.
Nope, absolutely not. Because at that point, you have violated my personal space. Right. And trust me when I tell you, you can go to jail for putting your hands on someone without having their permission. Even if you grab their wrist, if you touch their shoulder, if you put your arm on their back, you are violating their personal space, and you can go to jail for violating someone's personal space, for touching them without their permission.
You know,
that is a law.
Crazy thing is, a lot of people don't know this, but if you strike a referee, you hit a ref, you punch a ref, that's a felony.
Yeah. Yes.
So why isn't it not a felony when a coach hits or strikes a child?
It'll be well, I'll probably have a felony because I'll be.
I'm just saying, it's weird how they really, push the rules sometimes.
Right.
In some scenarios.
Right.
But where's the rule when it's the other way around?
Well, because, if a referee, NFL game is a bigger platform, more people are seeing it, you have more people that are pushing for, the fine or the arrest or the charges. These little league games, it's just parents out there.
Yeah, but the refs are still protected.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree with you. I'm just saying, little league, you got, one camera, the uncle is out there recording, but these NFL games, you live
the whole world watching.
The whole world is watching. So I think that's why they feel like, oh yeah, let us be the first one to say something before somebody says, why didn't you say something? But I think we need to stand up regardless of the platform, little league, middle school, high school, college, or the NFL, wherever it is, women, men, boys, girls, people need to know that people support them and have their back, and no one should be allowed to treat anyone as if they own them by putting their hands on them.
Yeah, verbal, physical.
Exactly.
Anything.
Yeah. So Jayla, I know that you play a lot of sports in school. Tell us what you play, some of the sports you play.
I play volleyball, I play soccer, I run track, and I play flag football.
Oh my goodness. So playing all of those sports, have you ever experienced, either another player being bullied or a coach being too aggressive or even being aggressive with yourself? Can you tell us a story, or have you experienced any of that?
No, I haven't.
Awesome.
When my sports teams were all really close, because most of us have been there for a couple years already, but, they're very friendly, nice people. Good. So it's not hard to make friends with them. So everyone's cool with each other.
Good.
We never have problems with each other.
That's awesome. That's a good coaching staff. Man.
That is a very good coaching staff. And how do you feel about your coaches? Do you have, coaches that you feel comfortable with them, or?
Yes, my soccer coach and my flag football coach. My favorite coaches. I love them.
Nice. Well, that is good. So, there you go. We have an athlete that is talking about her coaches and how she feels about them. So shout out to those coaches. We don't want to put them on blast, but I'm sure if they watch this podcast back and they see Jayla and she mentions flag football coach, and who's the other one?
My soccer coach.
And her soccer coach, they watch this podcast back, they'll see that she's shouting out kudos to them. And so we want to tell you, thank you for doing a great job. Thank you for being an example, and thank you for setting the bar and the expectations of other coaches and being, being great. So we appreciate those coaches for doing what they do. Shout out to the coaches, the good coaches out there that are making a difference in our kids' lives. I always heard, and people have said that coaches are one of the most influential people in children's and young people's lives.
That is true. Because one thing is that coach, even though he's not taking the father role,
right,
he's basically acting as if I'm that resource that you have to go to for anything that you need, because I'm gonna basically be that daddy role.
Right.
No one can be your father with your father.
Right.
But you can have multiple dads. You can have, multiple people that you call, mom, you have one mother, one father.
Right.
And coaches, because they're able to talk to you and get into your heart in a different way and get into your mind a different way. Right. And all you want to do is please them.
Right. Yeah.
And also, the coaches don't see the other side of you. They just see the respectful, you're going to do anything and I tell you to do side. So
that's so true. Listen, my kids, when we would go to their games, and all my kids, they love their coaches, but we would go to their, have the coaches would invite you over to the house for the cookout and invite all the kids over. And they would always say, your kids are the most respectful kids. Oh my gosh. They say, yes, ma'am. No, I'm like, who kid? My kid? You sure you're the right kids? Because I don't know who kids you're talking about. But yeah, I've heard that because, you know, the coaches, they want to play. They want to be put in the game. And so they're going to do whatever it takes to be put out there on that field. They don't want to sit the bench, right? They do not. I did not put on this uniform to sit on the bench
and do all this running.
Right. Yes. All these suicides. What is it? Suicides and
running laps.
Running laps. Yeah.
Laps. Every time something's wrong, I got to run too.
I got to run a lap. Yeah. He was late to practice, but we all got to run a lap because we're a team. I'm like, I don't want to be on this team. Wow, we got to run laps. Call me when y'all done. So, but yes, it's. Being a team, being a coach is a very important job. Shout out to all the great coaches out there. Coach TW, I know you were a coach of a semi-pro football team. And that's what, young men in their early 20s?
Yeah, for like 10 years.
How did you handle?
No, not early. I've coached kids out of high school. Mm-hmm. So the age range for a semi-pro is basically ability.
Oh, okay.
Out of high school all the way up to 40 if you can still play.
Okay.
So I basically coach all ages, and I have 35-year-olds. Most people call me Coach TW, or Mr. White. Mm-hmm. And I get that respect everywhere. You know, but it's the way you treat people. You give them respect. You're not bullying them. They know that, hey, you have value to instill in their lives.
Right.
So they lean on you.
So how did you ever experience because these are almost grown men now.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever experienced any bullying, any domestic violence, any situations where you felt like you needed to step in as a coach and be that father figure to them and pull them to the side and have that, you know, hard conversation with any of them?
Well, you know, from the beginning, I set a standard. This is how we are. This is who we are. Mm-hmm. And this is who we're going to be. Mm-hmm. So rarely do you see that kind of stuff. But every once in a while, it happens. Mm-hmm. You know, it's football. It's a contact sport. It's a violent sport. So things happen that will piss, you know, the average person off if it doesn't happen in the time that you want it to happen, especially if there's not, you know, refs out there to stop anything. But typically stuff normally would happen at practice. If it happens at a game, normally it's the other team.
Right.
But if you coach your guys the right way, or girls the right way, then they already know that there's protocol. There's things that you can do to make sure things do not escalate. Mm-hmm. You know, and one of the things is walking away. How many times have you seen in a football game where it's a guy that retaliates that gets the penalty or gets in trouble?
Right.
You know, so if you teach your guys or your team or your girls, just let it go.
Absolutely.
Then it's the other person that looks bad.
Exactly. You know, I've always taught my children, you know, I'm not going to say whether it's right or wrong or indifferent or whatever it is, but I've always taught my children, don't ever start a fight.
Yeah. Protect yourself.
Finish it.
Mm-hmm. Protect yourself.
Yep.
But don't be the instigator.
Don't be the instigator. However, if you cannot talk your way out of it, maneuver your way out of it, if you can't walk away, if you can't de-escalate the situation or calm the person down and say, come on, man, go ahead. All right, girl, go ahead, whatever. Don't start the fight, but make sure you finish it.
Yeah, but you know what? A good practice too is, come on, man, go ahead. I ain't about that. Don't stand there and keep it going.
Exactly.
Walk away. Just get out of the mess. If there's mess, get out of it.
Exactly.
That's the easiest way to de-escalate something.
Right.
Just get out of it.
Just get out of it.
Because 9 times out of 10, that person is a bully and they ain't going to be able to fight by themselves. So they either going to go tell somebody that you did something to them. And the next thing you know, you got 2, 3 people, 4 or 5 that you have to fight. Just like the mother that was beat up by these kids in the park.
In the park.
It was like 5 or 6 of them just kicking her.
Well, first of all,
and she didn't want to hit him.
One of them was holding her by her coat, by her shirt. So her face was constantly in the ground. And the other 5 or 6 were kicking her in her stomach, in her face, in her head, in her back. I mean,
yeah, she's like 35 and they're like 10.
Yes.
A bunch of 10-year-olds.
A bunch of 10-year-olds jumping this mother, 35 years old. And they interviewed her and they asked, why did she let it continue? And all she had to say was, well, I didn't want to hit the children. I'm sorry, what?
But they having a field day with you.
They having a field day. I mean, they were tearing her up. And all she kept saying, well, I didn't want to hit the children. Okay, well, you stay down there with your face in the dirt then.
One by one.
Yeah. Listen, we don't condone violence on Beyond the Chat, but we're just saying. I'm just
saying, protect yourself.
Saying, protect yourself. Exactly.
You know.
So, Jayla, tell us how you feel about what were you taught growing up about, bullying or getting into a fight or having a situation?
What were you taught?
What were you taught?
I was never taught to start a fight. To always walk away from a situation. Any fight that's ever happened in our family, we never threw the first punch. First punch was never us, but we finished the fight. It's just no. We never started fights. Always walk away from it. Even in games, very frustrating. Playing with people, especially soccer, is a very aggressive sport.
Oh yeah,
Ooh.
We've seen it.
Yeah, listen, I just have to say one thing, okay? We went to your soccer game, and there was a very healthy young lady out there playing on the opposing team who I guess was guarding you or playing against you. And I mean, she bumped you so hard that I wanted to jump the fence and suit up. I was like, just let me get her one good time.
I think you would have skipped the suit up.
I was almost on the verge of skipping the suit up. I'm like, she bumped my baby one more time. They're going to need to go to halftime or the game's going to be over because mama going to get down with the get down. But so how did you handle that? Like, I know if we saw from the stands that she was being aggressive towards you because you are, a lot smaller than her, and she was kind of just using her body weight to just bump you as many times as she could, and yet you kept your composure. I did see you get a little, like your mama. I could see it in your face. You were getting upset, but then you kind of brought it back together. So how did you handle that?
Well, it was kind of help. The positions that we played helped. So I'm like a forward and a middle, and she was like a middle. So I would go more forward, so I can have, especially if the ball was on the defense side, so I can have more time to myself and to think and relax before I had another
encounter. Yeah, another encounter with her. Yeah, we saw it was a little aggressive, and I think that she seems to take advantage of the fact that she's bigger than a lot of the other girls that are on the teams and stuff. And so, listen, I can't play sports. I'll stick to cheerleading and coaching and stuff like that. Because if you put a basketball in my hand and somebody elbow me, it's going down. They're gonna have to go to see the doctor. Yeah. And I can't play soccer because I'm gonna put all these thighs up on you. I'm knocking you down.
So in short, board games with Natasha. Board games with Natasha. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
People think because you're like smaller. Like there was this one girl. We played Middleton, and she was like at least 6 feet tall. This girl was so tall, and she had my number. I was like, dang, she has my number. And we were playing the same position, and it was a throw in. So the girl was about to throw the ball. There was no one on her. So my coach told me to get on her. I run up on her. Obviously, I'm like right here because I'm only 5'2". So she's like elbowing me in my back, and she's like, "Hey, no one's on me. The ball. I'm right here. I'm open, and I'm standing right in front of her." Oh. So I'm like, "All right, fine." So I get the ball. I kick it so she's standing right in front of me. I kick the ball between her legs. She thinks she kicked it between mine. She hits the floor. And I just kept running.
There you go.
And the rest of the game, she did not want to be by me.
There you go.
Like, but I thought there was no one on you. I was like, because it's just, they think because of your size, they're like, oh, she's small. I can do this and hit her. I'm not going down.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, and you thought she had your number. I think you had her number.
You had her number. She wasn't ready. She was not ready. Okay. My kids always mess with me. They say, "Mom, we don't want to play basketball with you because you don't play fair." I don't play fair because I know how to squat and get them hips up on you, bump you out the way. Listen, it's going down. I'm not going down easy, and I'm going down fighting. So you want to play basketball, soccer, football, flag, whatever you want to play, I'm gonna need you need to have me on your team. I'm just saying because I'm gonna get down with it. They think I'm crazy. I'm just, I'm competitive. I don't like losing.
No,
I do not like losing.
Like, who likes to lose?
Nobody likes to lose, but I think I just get like extra aggressive when it's time. Let's go. I do.
Yeah.
You do?
I think we all get.
We all do. Yeah.
Like, especially when we're losing. It's
no.
So
okay. First of all, I'm not gonna say no names. Just gonna point No, it never ever lets me win in anything. So when it comes to doesn't like to lose, somebody sitting at this table doesn't even let you win in a friendly game of basketball.
What?
Yeah, exactly. Just
What?
shooting the breeze, having fun. You're not playing horse. You're not playing, 21. You're not playing none of that. You're just shooting the ball. Just see who get the most shots. And somebody think that they're playing, for a tournament, for the trophy.
No, not for the first 20 points.
Exactly. You let me get to 20 and then you smack them down. Pow, pow. And I'm like, can I see the ball? Can I just hold the ball?
Yes, you can.
After you get to 21. That's all right. It's all good.
But at least it's a close game when we end.
Whatever. I'm not talking to you. Listen, we have enjoyed this podcast with you. Special thanks to Jayla Natay for joining us tonight.
Yes.
Did you have a good time?
Yes, I did.
Yay. Are you going to come back and be with us again sometime?
Yes.
Yay. We
Awesome.
look forward to inviting you back. Again, if you or anyone you know is a victim of domestic violence or bullying, please, 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 by all means, talk to someone, confide in someone, put your trust in someone, and don't be afraid to speak up because your feelings and your heart and your presence is important. We care about you, and we want you to know that you are special.
You are.
You are very special. So, make sure you call the number on the line and take care of yourself and take care of everyone around you. I am your host, Natasha Cash. We'll see you next Sunday.
And I'm your host,
at 6 p.m.
TW in the building.
I'm your host, Jayla Natay, in the house.
It's been so much fun. Happy New Year. Blessings to you and your family. We look forward to seeing you next Sunday. Make sure you subscribe and like the video and share it with all of your family and friends. We'll see you soon. Woo! Hey, yes, wash your hands, stay safe, wear your mask, and social distance, people. Take care of yourself. Woo! Hey.